So I was listening to President Trump's speech, at the rally in Texas, and there's a couple of things that stood out to me, and I just wanted to mention it because I think sometimes we like listen to people, but we don't really we don't hear. So one of the big, and it's important to listen to Trump because he's been right about everything. Okay, don't even get in my comment section about or I know by saying that I just naturally will have somebody, but it just because again, my opinion is we haven't been told all the facts surrounding that yet. So what the biggest thing he said, well, no, there's a lot of big things, but he said the biggest threat are high-level politicians in our country. China is easy to deal with. I had a great deal with China. We can deal with China. The problem isn't China. That's what he said. The problem isn't China. The problem is stupid people who deal with China. So keep that in mind when they're saying they keep pushing that fear mongering tactic. When Glenn Beck's getting rid of TikTok and trying to make it seem like we're under such a threat. Yeah, but none of those media people, the ones that say it, they don't say the true threat is within, and it is. He also said, what I thought was interesting, and he was talking about it as far as running, but he said even just innocent patriotic Americans. It's a system that goes after you. Basically, is around what he was saying. He was relating it to people that decide to run for office, but he said it happens even without running for office. People who are innocent and they end up being targeted, much like, not like he. I mean, nobody's been targeted like him, but I totally can relate to that, as I've said in many of my video, or not many of them, but a couple of my videos, when it comes to what I've dealt with in nursing, especially at my first job, and then to find out that these people, that Illinois Nurses Association, there's no way they didn't, they absolutely knew who that chief nursing officer was. She came from University of Illinois, Chicago, where Illinois Nurses Association's biggest contract is. So they knew exactly what they were doing to me. But they don't care. They're just on their agenda. It's all about them, right? Um, but he said that basically with politicians, what they do is they run and then because they can't stuff the ballot box like they could before, because I don't he said that I don't want to jump around, but he was basically saying that instead of doing stuffing ballot boxes, they go after the candidates with investigations, false investigations. Um, and then he also mentioned, like he said, Jim Jordan and somebody else, they're doing a good job. They're under a lot of threat. They take a lot of heat, so take it easy on them. I know I can be rather hard on Congress. I think we're all just tired of it, and I don't know. I don't I see words. I do see words. I've not seen like fruits. That's what I look for is the fruits. So when I see it more out of Congress, then maybe, I won't be so critical. Lots of people who hate our country. Yes, he did. He mentioned this. He said it, and I think that's probably the most unfortunate thing is because the enemy's within, and there's so many that hate this country. That like breaks my heart. It does, because my automatic assumption, and I think it's like this for most average Americans, is you just assume everybody loves America. That's in America, right? That was born here. You just assume that everybody was taught the right history and that knows how great the country is. So it's heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. Like that's probably why I get mad at like the nursing professional organization at the top that went along with the United Nations. Is more than anything is because it's like how could you just disrespect the country like that? I I don't know. That would be the thing that would run through my mind is like um there's just some things you don't do. And so unless you hate this country, You can't be that stupid to think that going into some globalization government, everybody being under one government, and I mean that's just a horrific outlook. And yet they write these papers as if it's such a wonderful thing. And it's like, that's why I've said before on my YouTube channel about these nurses at the unions and the professional organization. In my opinion, they should seek help. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. I go after them because of them getting on board with an agenda to destroy sovereignty, but they truly should seek help, because somebody that goes along with the communist agenda and they're on board with a globalist agenda, which is a communist agenda, no matter what they say, it's about, that's what they're on board with. You just have to read the 17 Unsustainable. It's not hard to figure out. But when you go globalization, where everything, we're no longer United States nurses or United States, we're global citizens. This is, why they've been pushing that global citizen bullshit for many years now. But I think anybody who supports communism is somebody who should have a mental health evaluation. I do, and I'm not saying that in any way sarcastic. I'm a psych nurse. I think they should have a mental health because it's a genocidal party to align with. So there's a disconnect up here then, if that makes sense. There just is. There's something not right. And the way a lot of communists bring it is they say they want socialism. But socialism is, I'll say it over and over again, socialism never works. It never lasts long. All it is a jumping board into communism. That's all it's used for. Because socialism does not work. It just leads straight into communism. And that's what communists use, is socialized terms and socialized agendas to get you into communism. So they support communism. They may have a bunch of people following them that don't support that and they believe in socialism, but they're just being deceived. But the people that are pushing that stuff, they're on board with the communist agenda. And so that's a genocidal agenda then that's going on in your mind. It is. It's not a political party. I mean, you can say it is, but really it's such a ruthless system. And it always in history has led to genocide. So anybody that gets on board with the United Nations and the globalist plan, to me, it's like they should really have a mental health examination. Unless they truly don't understand communism. But he also said it was a good thing that we had this delay of 4 years. I thought that was interesting, with Biden in, because he said it'll be even greater. I kind of get that, actually, because there's just too many people that don't see the truth, and that's what's needed. And he said they are coming after you, but they are not even close. So I think those are some important things. And he also said some other things that one of the most important to me anyway, that stood out to me was being tested, which he talked about being tested and you must pass the test. Talking about Supreme Court's not doing the right thing in regards to 2020 because they're too afraid. He also talked about lawyer scholars that can't believe this is happening in our country, just the injustices being done, like targeting him and stuff like that. And it's a test. I've said before, it's a test. And it's not God that does the test, but God knows where you're living, knows you're living under the wicked one. And this was the whole point to Jesus's life. Jesus is another person. Those words that Jesus says is very important to pay attention to in the Bible. Because it's there. He says those things to help you, so you understand. Because once you understand what you're living under, then you can navigate better. Otherwise, you're going to be, caught up in, why is this happening? Why? No, well, you should expect it to happen. So, but the key is that God sees. What are you going to do? Are you just going to turn the other way and say, yeah, I'm going to go along? Because eventually you reach this point where everybody gets the major test, because it reaches a pinnacle point where it can't sustain itself. So it's a test and you want to pass.